All right, guys. So starting a new year, we're starting with notes 1-1. I remember when you're watching these videos, I'm not hearing you ask questions, but you can pause, rewind. These are not to replace asking me questions. It's just to help you get caught up or go over something that maybe you didn't get quite right. So what we're going to be doing today is some review from 8th grade. We're going to solve each of these equations, and we're going to check the solutions on the calculator. So let's just start off with an easy one. P plus 5 equals negative 10. Our goal, if we're going to solve an equation, is get the variable all by itself. So what we need to do is move that plus 5 to the other side. And the way we'd get rid of plus 5 is we would subtract 5. Now the thing about equations is they have to be equal. So if I do something to one side, I also have to do it to the other. Now, on this side, the 5's cancel out, and I have P equals, I have negative 10 minus 5, which is negative 15. So my answer is negative 15 on number 1. Now, the way you put this in your calculator is it would be negative 15 plus 5. You'd hit the enter button, and you should get negative 10. Let's look at number 2. Now, the last one had addition. When you're doing addition and subtraction, basically do the opposite to get rid of it. This is not addition or subtraction. It's negative 5t equals 60. So we're talking about multiplication. To undo multiplication, do the opposite, which is division. We want t all by itself, and when something's attached through multiplication, we just divide by it. So over here, the negative 5's cancel and leave me t. Then I have 60 divided by negative 5. That's going to be negative 12. Now you could put this back in your calculator. You'd put negative 5 times negative 12, and you would end up getting 60. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. So far, so good, guys. Those are pretty much things that you're going to absolutely have to be able to do. Right now, we're looking at them by themselves. In the future, they're going to be all mixed together. You got to know to undo addition or subtraction, you're going to use addition or subtraction. To undo multiplication or division, we're going to use multiplication or division. Let's look at the next two. Number 3, and I know this isn't anyone's favorite type of problem, it's fractions. But guys, don't let fractions bother you because we can get rid of them pretty easy. There's a couple of tricks to do. This one really, it's a fraction, but isn't a fraction really division? So to undo division, we're going to use multiplication. So I'm going to put these little parentheses around my terms, and I'm going to multiply both sides by the denominator of the fraction. Well, what that does is when I multiply, that cancels out, leaving me only the numerator, or in this case, r. Then on the other side, I just have 15 times negative 4. That's a positive times a negative, so I get negative 60. You could put that back in your calculator to be negative 60 divided by negative 4. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. Now, this one looks a little different on number 4. It's 2/3 times b equals 12, but really the same principle applies. Now, some of you may be saying, well, we can multiply that fraction by its reciprocal. Instead of 2/3, we'd use 3/2. But all you really have to do is multiply both sides again by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. Well, the 3's cancel out, and that leaves me the 2b. And on the other side, I have 36. Now, we saw a minute ago in number 2 that when we had multiplication, we divided by what's in front of our variable. So I divide both sides by 2. The 2's cancel, and I have b equals 36 divided by 2 is 18. Now, if you're going to put this in your calculator to check, you might need parentheses. You'd probably do parentheses 2 divided by 3, then times 18. Sometimes if you don't put parentheses around fractions in a calculator, it doesn't understand what you're talking about, and that would equal 12. All right, let's keep on moving. Now, so far, we've just had to do one thing really to each of them, except for maybe that last one. This one's going to have multiple steps. We all know what order of operations is, and that's the way we work problems. But when you're solving, you're kind of doing them backwards. So what I want to look for first is addition or subtraction. Remember, my goal is to get n all by itself. Now, you could go ahead and think of this as 4 times n and do some division, but the first thing I want to look for is addition or subtraction. That's what I have right here. So I'm going to move that positive 9 to the other side by subtracting 9, but I have to do it to both sides. Now the 4n was not affected by that. but the plus 9 minus 9 cancels out. Now on the other side I have negative 3 minus 9, which is negative 12. Now this looks a lot like number 2. We have multiplication connecting 4 to n, so we divide. We do it to both sides. Those 4's cancel, and I get n equals negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. So in your calculator, you could put 4 times negative 3 plus 9, and you should get negative 3. Now this one, we've got a fraction and we've got some other things we have to deal with. My advice to you guys is do everything you can before you mess with the fraction. In this case, we have minus 14, so we can add 14 to both sides. Now I have 2/3 a. The 14s are canceled out, equals 61 plus 14 is 75. Now, just a minute ago when we did number 4, we can multiply the fraction by its denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and put multiplication on both sides times the denominator. Now these denominators cancel, or the denominator cancels when I multiply it by itself. So I have 2a left, and 75 times 3 is 225. Now we're back to where we were in number 2. We have something attached to a with multiplication, so we divide both sides by 2. And I think we get a decimal this time of 112.5. So guys, take your time, follow your steps. Make sure and look for look for addition or subtraction first before you do anything else. Let's go ahead and go to the back. Let's finish this up. Now we have a couple of other things going on. We have 3 times in parentheses a minus 5, close parentheses, plus 19 equals negative 2. Now we can't just start working this one like we did the last one. What we have to do first is called distribution. When you have a number and it's outside of parentheses with terms like this, like x plus 2, y plus 9, you have to distribute. So I'm going to take 3, the thing that's on the outside, and multiply it by the first term. 3 times a is just 3a. Then I do it with the second term, but I make sure and include the sign. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Now I don't multiply 3 by the 19 because it's outside the parentheses, so I have plus 19 equals negative 2. Now we're going to combine like terms. It's really tempting to go ahead and like add 15 to the other side or subtract 19, but first we need to combine anything we can, and if I look right here, that's negative 15 plus 19. That's 4. So now I have 3a plus 4 equals negative 2, and it's starting to look more like what we had on the last page. So now we want to look for addition or subtraction first. I have plus 4 on one side, so to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. The 3a doesn't change. Plus 4 minus 4 cancels out. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. And 3a equals negative 6. 3 and a are connected by multiplication. So I divide both sides by 3. Once the 3's cancel, I have a equals negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. And again, you could plug that in for a. 3 times in parentheses negative 2 minus 5, close parentheses plus 19, and you will get negative 2. So guys, it really wasn't much worse than the last one. You just have to watch out for distribution. Let's go to the next one. Now, I don't see any parentheses, so I don't think there's any distribution, but what's different here is I have k, or the variable, on both sides of the equal sign, and I need them both on the same side. So you can kind of choose what you move. My favorite thing to do is move the small one to the big side, so we keep out of having negative numbers. So I'm going to subtract 2k from both sides. 2 times k, guys, is just a number, so it's just like adding or subtracting 3 from both sides. I'm just going to move the negative 2k. Well, 6k minus 2k gives me 4k. The minus 3 stays the same. 2k minus 2k cancels and leaves me 13. And again, now this looks like what we had on the front page. So I have 4 times k minus 3. I want to use addition or subtraction first, so I'm going to add 3 to both sides. 4K goes down, it's unaffected. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0, so they cancel. 13 plus 3 is 16. Now we have 4 times k equals 16, so we divide both sides by the number. They cancel out, leaves me k. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So guys, it's pretty repetitious, and it's the same basic thing we did on the front, but we can add and subtract variables from both sides also. Let's look at the last problem. So this last one is 8c plus 1 equals 7c minus 14 minus 2c. And this one kind of works how number 7 did after we distributed. If you look at the left side, I've got 8c plus 1. I can't combine those together because one of them has a variable and one of them does not. But on the other side, I have 7c minus 14 minus 2c. I have 7c and minus 2c. I can combine those terms. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down the 8c plus 1 equals, well, 7c minus 2c leaves me with 5c, and then minus 14. And now this looks a lot like number 8. Now again, you could move the 8c to the other side if you wanted to. You're going to end up dealing in more negatives if you do that. I'm going to move the 5c to the other side. Remember, I need my c's on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 5c from both sides. 8c minus 5c is 3c plus 1 equals 5c minus 5c is 0, so it equals negative 14. Now, I'm going to do my addition or subtraction first. I'm going to have to subtract 1 from both sides. Now all I have is 3c on the left. The 1's canceled. Negative 14 minus 1 more is negative 15. Now we move to the last step. We've seen this lots today. 3 times c, you undo it with division. The 3's cancel. I have c equals. A negative divided by a positive is definitely going to be negative. Negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. So guys, if you have any questions on that, you got to come talk to me. We have, you guys, most of you freshmen have MAPS classes. We've got action periods, so if you need help, come and get it. Good luck.